Did you see the article I sent you? Did you see what he did? Call to order this meeting of the National School District Governing Board. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and David Zepeda will be leading the pledge for us. David?
Good evening. My name is David Rafael Cepeda, and I'm a sixth grader at Olivewood Elementary. Today, on behalf of Olivewood Elementary and the National School District, I have the honor of leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may now be seated. The board meeting will now proceed. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, David. We have a call to order, or I'm sorry, the roll call.
Ms. Avalos? Present. Ms. Betancourt Castañeda?
Present.
Ms. Lizárraga?
Present.
Ms. Gates? Present. Ms. Sarmiento?
Present. Thank you. Under item 2A presentations, we have a presentation by the Olivewood School students.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Leah Roderick Atapa. I am a sixth grade student at Olivewood Elementary. I'm honored to be here today as a representative of the Olivewood Jets. Jets, or the Junior Education Technology Squad, is a group of dedicated students like myself who share a common passion for technology. We've come together to gain a deeper understanding of the technology that surrounds us, to learn how it works, and most importantly, to help resolve any technologies issues that our students may encounter with their Chromebooks and iPads. Our mission is simple yet vital. We're here to learn, help, and teach. If any of our peers encounter problems with the devices, whether it's missing components or damages, we're there to help. We report the issues and we're committed to learning about the missing or damaged parts so we can facilitate the replacement or repair. Our goal is to ensure that every student has access to the technology they need to excel in their education. But our responsibilities extend beyond just assisting our classmates. We are also tasked with supporting our dedicated teachers in any technology-related challenges they may face. Whether it's troubleshooting issues with their Promethean boards or laptops, we're here to lend a helping hand. JETS is not just about fixing devices. It's about creating a culture of technology literacy and support at Olivewood Elementary. Believe that by empowering ourselves with knowledge and assisting others, we can create a more technologically proficient learning environment. I've been enjoying this experience because it will help me prepare me for my dream job as a mechanical engineer.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Esperanza Gonzalez. I am proud to stand before you today as dedicated member of Olivewood Elementary Recycling Program. In my role, I wear many hats. I'd like to take a moment to share with you some of the important tasks I undertake. At Olivewood Elementary, we separate all the food waste. This means separating all the organic materials left over from our meals, such as fruit peels, vegetable scraps, and other biodegradable items. They get thrown into a green bin, and the trash company picks them up and turns them into compost. By doing so, we are reducing the amount of waste that ends up in landfills. We also recycle cartons and plastics. These materials, when not properly recycled, can harm our environment and contribute to pollution. However, through our recycling efforts, we can give them a new life. We reduce the need for raw materials and energy. into the production of new projects, it's a small action that makes a big impact. Lastly, I also play a role in maintaining the cleanness of a cafeteria. A clean environment is essential for our health and well-being. By keeping our cafeteria clean and organized, we create a pleasant and inviting space for everyone, making it more likely that students will take pride in their school and continue to participate and be responsible in recycling. In conclusion, recycling is not a school activity, it's a global responsibility, and I am proud to be helping students recycle and compost during lunch.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Melanie Barba, and I am a proud fifth grader at Olivewood Elementary. It's a pleasure to stand before you today to share a little bit about my role and experience as a member of the Morning Buddies team. Every morning at 8 a.m., I stand at the entrance gate alongside other 5th and 6th grade students ready to do our duty as Morning Buddies. We have the privilege of welcoming students as they begin their day. One of our primary responsibilities is to ensure the safety and well-being of our youngest students those in TK and kindergarten. I take great care in walking them safely to either breakfast or the TK Kinder Walking Club. I make sure they feel safe and comfortable as they begin their day at our school. Sometimes they may be feeling sad or scared, and in those moments, I'm there to smile and help them find happiness. It's an honor to be a morning buddy at Olivewood Elementary, where we help students feel welcome, safe, and ready to learn. Thank you.
And I am the proud principal of these students from Olivewood Elementary. These are our student leaders, and they represent many of the student leaders at our school. And we're always looking for different leadership opportunities to prepare our students for college and career.
Yes, please go ahead. You realize that they're the first ones this year, correct? And you have set the bar really high. Other schools, as you talked to us about all the stuff that you were doing there. I told you that Mr. Brian is the guy you need to know, right? Yeah, okay. So Brian.
We have competition.
Yeah. All right. Well, these are just the certificate of participation I'm going to give to you. So thank you very much for coming and doing this for us tonight. Okay. And you're going to go up front with it so that we can take your picture. You don't have to do the parent paparazzi thing where they all have all your adults come and yeah, we like to do that. So Esmeralda. Thank you. Melanie. Indeed. Go. Come on up front, let's get your picture. You have to smile and everything, I know. Go ahead over there, right in front of Mrs. Soriano and Dr. Brady, just right for that curve.
Congratulations.
Good job.
And then I get to be much on my picture, take a picture. So, remember no broccoli.
Parents, you can get closer.
Congratulations. Go all in one.
Thanks, this week. Very proud of you. It's a wonderful job.
Under 2B, we'll be tabling that for the next meeting, but let's move on to 2C. Introduce and welcome the new employees. Dr. Kevin.
I am honored tonight to introduce our new employees. We have new employees to introduce. We have a few that are here that I'd like to start with, and then at the end, introduce the employees who were not able to make it tonight. Our first new employee is Michelle Felix, temporary classroom teacher at Rancho de la Nacion. Michelle has been a teacher since 2006. And if you wouldn't mind coming up, we'll take a picture. She was an impact teacher for the National School District for 1 year. She holds a bachelor's in psychology from San Diego State University and a master's in education from National University. Welcome, Michelle. Our next new employee is Juan Vasquez, transportation student attendance from the transportation department. Juan has worked at Aggressive Car Wraps, DoorDash, and Fine Paint. Welcome, Juan. And our last employee that's present is Manuel Vasquez, campus student supervisor at Palmer Way School. And we're lucky Manuel has worked as a volunteer at Palmer Way School, so we're happy that he's on board. Thank you. Welcome, Manuel.
Don't be shy. Thank you.
I'm happy to introduce two employees that were not able to make it tonight. Victoria Burgos, impact teacher for Las Palmas. Victoria has worked as a bilingual teacher in San Diego County since 2018. She holds a bachelor's in liberal studies from San Diego State University and an associate's from Imperial Valley College. Welcome, Victoria. And our last employee who is not able to be with us tonight, Amanda Enquist, impact teacher at Central School. Amanda has been a teacher since 2010. She taught in the National School District for over 12 years. She holds a bachelor's in child development from San Diego State University. Welcome back, Amanda Enquist.
Thank you. Item 3, public communications. Public communication provides the public with an opportunity to address the board regarding an item on the agenda or other topic. Anyone wishing to address the board shall submit a request for oral communications card. Cards are available near the entrance to the boardroom and are to be submitted to the recording secretary. A member of the public who wishes to address the board on any such matters is limited to 3 minutes for one matter, up to a maximum of 5 minutes for all closed and open session matters. There shall be a limit of 20 minutes for any matter, unless such time is limited waived by a majority vote of the board. Members of the public may not yield any time to other speakers. No board action can be taken. Do we have any requests to speak?
No.
No? Thank you. Item 4A, the agenda. We are going to.
Who's on the book? Can you speak into the microphone, please?
You want to hear me?
Yeah.
The staff requests an edit for item 6A. The item states nominations are for CSBA directors at large for Asian Pacific Islander and Hispanic. However, should be nominations for CSBA directors at large for African American, American Indian, and county. So we are going to edit that as read. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
No, they had no.
I'm sorry. I saw her and so I
motion to approve.
We have a motion by Ms. Lizarraga, a second by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda. Thank you. Please vote, and our system is working, I understand. Give it a try.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Five, to approve consent agenda routine items of business.
The motion to approve.
I second the motion.
A motion by Ms. Gates, second by Ms. Avalos. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Under item 6, general functions, discuss and nominate CSBA directors at large. We just made this correction to the,
I was just going to say, I think that maybe our delegate, trustee Bettencourt Castañeda, could speak to this item.
okay.
Well, I just wanted to make note that this item, reason why we have to make an adjustment is because actually they're alternating years in terms of what, member at large are, up for vote. So this year we're actually up for the opposite. And so that's why that adjustment was made, but also, we, are accepting nominations for directors at large. I'm not sure if there's anybody who is, if we have somebody in mind, that anybody is interested in nominating, and then that goes forward to the delegate assembly for vote. So nominations are closing on the 29th, so we have a little bit of time, but we won't reconvene together before we actually have the nomination due. So, if anybody has any questions for me? But it's pretty straightforward. The person has to accept the nomination similar to what we do for delegate assembly.
Thank you. And do we have any?
What are the responsibilities for a delegate and a large?
So they have to fall into the criteria of the specific groups that are being represented, and the the qualifications is just they have to have been a delegate before for 2 years.
For 2 years. Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? No nominations? Okay, with that, we'll move on to item 6B, approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on August 23rd, 2023. And I'll be recusing myself since I wasn't here.
All right.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve.
I will second.
Do we have any discussion? Okay, so I have a motion by Mrs. Avalos and a second by Mrs. Bettencourt Castañeda to approve our minutes from the last board meeting, August 23rd, I'm sorry.
I just have a question. So, Mrs. Sarmiento just has to abstain, not to recuse herself.
Correct.
So,
Which means she does not have to
Abstaining, not
leave because
recusing.
she's not influencing.
which means she can,
Oh, she can leave it.
yeah, okay, I just want to make sure.
I'm used to that.
I'm a little
You're seriously welcome
Yeah.
as
I
my guest.
apologize. I thought it was supposed to too.
The next item, she's supposed to
Okay.
recuse herself.
I knew
right?
there was one of these.
Okay.
I
You can
apologize.
call for the vote if you like.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood what.
Thank you.
On behalf of Mrs. President Sarmiento, can I call for the vote?
She can still vote.
I forgot.
Is it not
Is it
working
working?
again?
It's working. We just have to get the first and the second.
Mrs. Avalos, Mrs. Bettencourt Castañeda.
I don't have the option
You
on
don't,
the
it's
second.
grayed.
It's grayed out.
Because
Oh, no.
Right. Okay, right there. I'm so excited. Just jump right in.
The next one.
Item passes 4 yes, 1 abstain.
All right, moving to item 6C, which I am allowed to talk about. Okay. To adopt resolution number 23-24.14 regarding the absence of board member Ms. Alma Sarmiento due to illness, for which she is recusing herself at the moment. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we have a motion by Mrs. Avalos, and a second by Mrs. Lizarraga. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Okay. Item 7, under Educational Services, A, to amend CT 3478 Memorandum of Agreement with the County of San Diego for transportation associated with foster youth. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I second the motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda, second by Ms. Avalos. Please vote.
Item passes 4 yes, 1 abstain.
Do I intend to abstain from that? Oh, I'm pressing yes.
I think that, was that the last vote?
Up there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't press abstain.
You can vote again.
Yes.
Yes. No, the others are abstain. This system is going haywire.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Under item 7B, to approve CT 4102, the San Diego State University Research Foundation for training to school-based mental health providers.
Motion to approve.
I second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda, second by Ms. Avalos. Please vote.
I second the motion.
Check your vote.
I just second it.
You have to vote yes if it's yes.
I did.
So your vote is out.
Item passes unanimously.
Okay, item 7C, to approve CT 4106 with Heroes of Color LLC for an animation program for 5th and 6th grade students. Do I have a motion?
Yes. I make the motion.
I'll second. We have a motion by Ms. Lizarraga, second by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 7D, to approve CT 4108 Building Block Entertainment, Inc. for Waterology Assembly.
Motion to approve.
I second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion made by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda, second by Ms. Avalos. Please vote.
I don't know, it's the same as staying here.
All
I
clear.
already did that.
Any help from Jets?
Doesn't clear. I pressed the second the motion. And I make a motion, I second it. I didn't make the motion, but I second the motion.
Please vote again.
Okay.
No, just go ahead. She's gonna. There. No, why is it so complicated now?
Item passes unanimously.
Bless you.
Let's see.
Thank you. Item
What?
Item 7E, to approve CT 4110 with EduDance to provide ballroom dance and etiquette lessons to 6th grade students. Up to you. Do I have a motion?
I second the motion.
You make a motion?
With excitement to see.
Yes.
Oh, so I have a motion made by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda, second by Ms. Lizarraga. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 7F, to approve CT 4114 for a community partnership with Cree Scientists, Inc.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Avalos, second by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda. Please vote. That said the vote was by Bettencourt. Who was the vote? We have,
Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda and Ms. Avalos seconds. No,
that was the other way around, yeah.
Avalos. Motion is Bettencourt, second. And item passes
Keeping us
unanimously.
on our toes.
Thank you. Under 8, Human Resources, A, approve memorandum of understanding with the California School Employees Association and its National Chapter 206 and the National School District regarding increased daily work hours for campus student safety assistance.
Motion to approve?
I second the motion.
Let's go. I have a motion made by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda, second by Ms. Avalos. If no discussion, please vote.
Well, could we just, could Dr. Kevin just speak to what some of this covers so that we could hear for the community especially? I mean, we've talked about it a little bit before, but to know what we're looking at when we're talking about that change and that growth, because when you look at it, it says, 45 minutes a day. But what are we going to cover with that 45 minutes a day on behalf of our students?
So last school year, we had, and we do this yearly, an input session on the LCAP. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
And one of the things we had talked about is increasing our school resource officers for school safety. And as a result of that conversation, we talked about increasing, why not use those funds to increase safety on campus by increasing 45 minutes the hours for campus student supervisors, who are now going to be called campus student safety assistants, so that they can provide extra eyes and walk around the campus, making sure the gates are locked and ensuring that visitors are checking in. So they will support that work at the school sites. And it also talks about consecutive hours, uninterrupted hours, because our campus student supervisors were coming at 7:30 and then back at 10 and then back at 12. And so this really allows them to have consistent hours for moving from 3.0 to 3.75.
So you're saying that Mr. Vasquez is our last hired campus campus supervisor for the district? Because we are now the student safety, there are 2 Mr. Vasquez's. So now we have a new, he's gonna be the last person who was brought in under that title.
Yes, but they will convert to campus student safety assistants on the next item. The next item.
Okay, all right. Thank you. What did I get? What was the shop for? Thank you, Dr. Goodman.
Okay. Now vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item B, to approve updated job description for campus student supervisor.
Motion to approve. Second, please.
Motion by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda, second by Ms. Yates. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Item C, to approve CT 4116 with Sister School Project in collaboration with the Association for Latino Administrators and Superintendents. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I second the motion.
We have a motion made by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda, second by Mrs. Zaraga. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 9A, Business Services, to approve the 2022-2023 unaudited actuals financial reports by Dr. Burke.
Board President Sarmiento and trustees of the board, it is my pleasure to present to you tonight the unaudited actuals. And our unaudited actuals are from 2022-2023. So we're looking backwards in time tonight. Okay, this is not about so much about 23-24. We'll touch on that. We'll talk about some of the impacts, but the primary focus of tonight is last year. Okay, and we want to keep that in mind as we go forward. It's our role as a district to have a board approval for the unaudited actuals by September 15th. So this meeting can serve that purpose. Before the 15th, it goes to the county, and the county provides approval by the 15th of October. As you've seen, the budget cycle recently presented when we did our adopted budget, and I'm sure you've seen it in years past, but it's always good to think about, just to look at it for the first interim in particular, because it's a little bit different. As I talked about in June, we're always in business services working in 2 to 3 budget years, depending on the time of year. We're always working in 2 or 3 budget years at the same time. So this is the budget cycle for the 22-23 school year, as we talked about. And here we are tonight, September 13th, meeting our September 15th deadline on the unaudited actuals. And the purpose of this, if you go back to last year, to June, we adopted a budget in 22-23. The first interim is December of 2022. That was our first look at how is this year's budget doing? Are we meeting the targets that we thought we were setting? Are we on track for our spending? Is there a budget line that's overspending and that we need to take some action on? Or is there a budget that we're not spending and we need to take some action on? That happens at the first interim period. It happened in December. Then you do the same thing again in March, and it's a little bit later in the year. You're getting close to the end. You kind of give your best guess when you're opening a new budget year. So I did talk about this year's budget as we were opening the new budget, but the state allows us a few months to really go back and dissect what happened last year to see where we are right now at this moment in time, and to see how did the year really end up, okay? And that's called the unaudited actuals. So this is our actual dollar amount that we finished the year on, okay? The state then goes and audits our work, and then we get that report again in December. So this is where the rubber hits the road, and it gets tough in terms of understanding, because we are in truly a unique budget time. That there tends to be different reasons there are unique budget times, and this one's a little bit more extreme than normal. This is not something that's happened in California school funding in the past. It's totally a unique time, and I'm going to tell you about it tonight. I'm going to try to tell the story in a way that everybody can understand what's going on, why it's happening, and some of the things we might need to do and be prepared for, be aware of. Okay, so I'm going to try to tell that story as best I can tonight in the time we have, without keeping us here past midnight or anything like that. So I'm going to go through each of these really quickly and tell you about them and tell the community about what those things are. These are the essential understandings to understand tonight's presentation as best as we can. Unrestricted funds versus restricted funds. There's 2 types of money that comes into school districts. Unrestricted means we have a lot more flexibility and choice on how we can use that money to support students, okay? We can make a wider breadth of decisions with that money. That is our primary fund that comes in. That's the general fund. That's the largest amount of money that comes in for us is unrestricted. And we'll get into the details of what that looks like, okay? Then there's restricted funds. Normally restricted isn't anywhere near as large as unrestricted. Unrestricted is typically bigger. Restricted lately has been much, much larger than normal, and with good reason, But what are restricted funds? These are funds that must be spent on very specific certain things. There's restrictions. So if you spend something on using restricted dollars, say Title I is for low-income students. So say we spent that on our GATE program, that would be illegal. Okay, we can't do that. Say we spent that on teacher salary raise or something like that, or a classified raise. That again would be not allowable under the parameters of Title I. So these are budgets that have restrictions. Okay, there's tighter rules than the unrestricted fund. The cost of 1%. And I can provide detail on your Friday report exactly what our 1% are. But 1% of our salary in the district is approximately $600,000, okay, per year. The reason that this number is important is because you often talk about, okay, well, what if we increase our cost of salaries by 1%? Or what if we increase our cost of salaries of 2%? So you want to know in general, out of your whole budget, what's 1% of your budget cost? So you want to be thinking about that. For us, it's around 600,000. 1% of our salaries is around 600,000. Okay. One-time money versus ongoing money in the nature of pandemic-related funds. One-time money versus ongoing money. That's the first key to really separate. Ongoing money means we know we're going to keep getting something very similar, or usually a little bit more than that, the next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. That's the money that is, for accounting and budgeting is safe to commit to staff, things that are going to continue also, right? So things that are going to, or potentially raises, increasing staff members. You need a new position. You want to know that you have not just the money today, but you're going to have the money next year, the year after that, and the year after that to continue paying that position, assuming there's going to be raises and all those types of things. So ongoing money is for the unrestricted budget that comes in, that, every year we get a new allocation that comes to us, a new amount of money assigned to our district. Same thing with our restricted funds. You get new ongoing Title I funds, for example, is a great example. LCAP, those types of funds, we know they're going to come every year. Then there's one-time money. One-time money can be a short-term grant. It can be, you're going to get it one time, $50,000. It might come in over the course of months or something like that, but you know that $50,000 is coming one time. You're not guaranteed that $50,000 next year. So it would be dangerous and not best budgeting or accounting principles to try to have ongoing costs covered by one-time money, because you cover it this year. Oh, we have an extra $1 million, say. That sounds like a ton. And it is. We have an extra $1 million, so we're going to hire 7 extra counselors, and it's going to be great. But then that was one-time money, so next year you don't have that $1 million, but you've now committed to these counselors, and you've committed to services, and you've built programs, and you've designed what you want to do. So, and you have to undo it because you can't afford it. So that's what you don't want to go into that up and down, feeding off of one-time money and using that for personnel. So one type of money that is also one-time money is your carryover. So that's a clear distinction I need to make. So if you don't spend all of your, say, LCAP money one year, and you're doing it, and there's good reasons for that, and we can talk about them in a bit, the next year, that money's kind of in a little pile. It's like, okay, we did not spend $100,000 of our LCAP last year, so we have that extra. But again, it's that one time. It's one pile. That pile is not guaranteed to be there the following year, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So with the one-time money, you don't want to commit it again to those types of ongoing costs. And with the pandemic, what happened is there was an infusion of short-term money into our district. Massive. Not just our district, every district. Perhaps we, per student, received even a little bit more due to the nature of our unduplicated student counts and things like that. But the statewide, it was the same thing. There's just an infusion of money like never seen before. And much of it is one-time or restricted. And it's limited in scope on what we can do with it and what it's for. Much of that funding was for, helping students who were impacted statewide by the pandemic, their learning and their achievement. And extra money has been given to us through ESSER and other accounts to help us recover that learning loss. Okay, we're trying to spend that money in ways that's going to help close the gap of where students would have been had the pandemic not happened and where they are today. And again, this is not a national school district issue. This is a statewide, national, international thing that's going on. Okay, but we are fortunately funded by California, who really did infuse a lot of money into the program, as did the federal government, and we're very thankful for that. So due to the nature of this, and this is where it gets complex, National School District has been very mindful in the years past on trying to find ways to pay for staff where possible using restricted funds and moving salaries into more restricted funds. Something that helps save the more unrestricted funds and allows us to have more flexibility in the future with the money that we are reserving year by year. Again, this is getting into the weeds and it's complex, but by doing this, it enables us to stretch how long these pandemic dollars last, how long our unrestricted dollars last, and can carry us into the future. You may recall just before the pandemic hit, National School District, like so many other districts in this state, the district I was in was facing dire straits. But like so many districts in this state was facing difficult financial decisions prior to the pandemic. That infusion of money has enabled us to carry forward with the exact staffing we had if we wanted to, but we've actually reduced, and we'll talk about that. But it's enabled us to carry forward and to have money reserved for different programs in the future, and again, to stretch those dollars farther. Okay, ADA declining enrollment prior 3 years average. I'll dig in on that a little bit. ADA is our daily attendance average, and we are funded on our attendance. It's important to note that National's enrollment is down. I'm going to show you a slide that talks about that. We've talked about it before as a group here in this room in a public meeting. And the other thing is prior 3 year, it's not average, it's actually, there's different ways that we can fund that they fund our enrollment. Our enrollment isn't necessarily based on this year. Right now, the state has made special exceptions where you can rely on prior years, historical enrollment, to get more money to help you carry, but not beyond 3 years. Okay, so we're not able to go back to 2018-19 when we had this many students, but we can go back to 2019-20, 2020-21 and get funded on how many students we had at that time. I'll show you a chart that gets into that. Two more quick points. Challenge that the state, it's really confusing right now, and we're going to get to this in the presentation, but there's a real cognitive disconnect. There's just a disconnect between the multi-year projections, which I'll talk about later, and how much our reserves are. And this is not uncommon. Again, we're actually a little bit above the state average for elementary schools on a reserve. There's been, and that is in part due to our movement of staff into more restricted funds and being able to pay down using those restricted dollars. And it's helped us to keep a healthy reserve. But at the same time, when it looks like we have perhaps more reserve than this district has had ever, perhaps, and we'll get into that a little bit, at the same exact moment, 3 years from now, it's showing that we can't meet our bills. So it doesn't make sense until we dig in a little bit. So I'm just warning you for that, letting you know that, yes, there's confusing mixed messages, and it's not just us, it's around the state. Everyone's dealing with the same situation. And we're all trying to work our way through it the best way we can and provide the best education we can and have the least damage to culture, staff, and all those types of things. So it's a complex, as I said to our executive cabinet team today, we're really trying to thread a needle here. We're really trying to come out, just, spend the money as responsibly as we can, honor our employees, honor what our students needs, and be mindful of the county and the state saying, hey, 3 years from now, you guys aren't going to have enough money. So it's a dance that we have to do. And last but not least, that is SDCOE's fiduciary responsibility. We'll talk about that briefly. Just quickly over this slide, a reminder that we looked at this in June. Again, declining enrollment, because I'm going to talk about that, is not a National School District problem. It is a California problem. It's particularly rough in the more expensive areas of California, which we happen to be. Even though we have a large, low socioeconomic status student body, we are a very expensive area, and our students are being impacted. Our families are being impacted and are leaving and going to Riverside, going to Arizona, going to Texas, and so forth. We're very thankful for each one that stays here. We do think that we provide the best education out of all those places. That's our job, and I think we're doing it. So we welcome anyone that wants to come, and we honor the ones that have stayed. Attendance is not just our problem either. Attendance is a statewide problem, as I presented in June, and we don't need to touch too far into that, but attendance is down 5% over the past couple of years. This slide tells a lot of stories, and I will try to limit how much I talk about it. I might need a prod. You might need to prod me along if necessary, but okay, I talked about unrestricted general fund. That's the money that can be spent flexibly. Restricted money fund, restricted general fund, that is the money that cannot be flexible. It has to be spent on very specific rules. COLA is the cost of living increase. That's the extra money the state gives us each year. They, just like in Social Security, many of you might be familiar with that in the audience out in the community. Just like Social Security, school districts get a COLA. It's an adjustment of how much money the state provides for us. And if you look over time, over this timeline that I'm showing you, 2018-19 is the year before there was any pandemic impact. 19-20, the last portion of the year had pandemic impact. So I went to the year before that, and we're looking at a COLA of 3.7 that year. And then during the pandemic, at the beginning, they were very, very afraid, and we gave a zero COLA as a state. But then there have been massive adjustments since then, and there have been big increases. When you add those numbers all together, the state has increased, just in raw numbers, not compounding like a bank, complex compounding, over 40% increase in COLA since 2018-19. As we all know, the costs in that time have increased tremendously. So it's not just, obviously that can't all go towards salaries, because the cost of any object any one of us buys in any store costs more than double what it did in 2018-19. We're all experiencing that. We're all living that. And school districts are no different. When we buy computers, we pay what the market rate is, and it's not what it was in 2018-2019. So things have changed dramatically. But just keep in mind, because Trustee Gates has asked, I want to understand what people out there in the community and people out there in the state are talking about as the fiscal cliff. What is this fiscal cliff? I don't want to hear about this fiscal cliff. Where is it happening, right? We've had this conversation. And I want this picture to help you understand it. When we look at funded ABA, reminding you again, it's not exactly how many students we have. You can choose which year you're using out of the last 3 years and so forth. There's 5,151 ADA in 2018-2019. You've seen this drop. You see this drop. This is our year right now. 4,273. We're going to be funded on that. We don't have that. We didn't have that many students on day one of the year. It's not about that. It's our funding. That's our student count from that they're using based on last year or prior years. And the year that we're looking at again tonight is 4,629 students. So when you get down to where we will be in 2025, 26, and this projection is coming from population trends and analysis, we're down to 3,741. Will it come higher than that? We hope so. We're going to do what we can to try to attract, but it has to be students in the boundary or transfer students coming in, and there's only what's out there is coming. So we can do what we can to recruit and try to increase enrollment. But bottom line is there are less families in National City than there were before. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. But you see, and okay, so this drop, this is another 500 student drop in the next couple years. Part of that reason is because we're no longer able to count these big years. I told you that you're using 3 years. Well, those big years are no longer in the 3-year average as we escape it. We're getting down to the numbers that we really have left. And so that's decreasing the average. It's decreasing which number we can use for our enrollment, which is decreasing our revenue fast and significantly. As we talked about in June, each student, we are funded as a district between $14,000 and $15,000 per student on average. Okay, so That's with all our extra supplemental concentration and additional dollars. So when you lose hundreds and hundreds of students, and each one of them is attached to $15,000, of course, day to day, we don't think about $15,000. We're thinking about our kids. But at the end of the day, when the state's thinking about it, they're sending us the money on the numbers. And so all of a sudden that $15,000 becomes very real, and it becomes very impactful to our bottom line and impactful to what we're doing. Okay, so that is why you see in the green column, 59 million in 2018-19. We're projecting for 25-26, 62 million, and that's not our projection. Again, it's the county offices and population trends. So you see that despite 40% increases in COLA, how much they're funding students and funding us for students, despite that, the dollars have only gone up $3 million in that time. So had it happened, you know, that we didn't lose any students and we're still at 51, that 59 million would be close to 83 million. Okay, so in terms of, are we going to drop off a cliff tomorrow? No, we actually have been falling as we've been going. And it's just, we're not exactly feeling it the same way, because at the same time our ADA is going down, our dollars per student is going up. And it makes it's almost like it's an inverse relationship happening almost. That's not the way it's supposed to be, but that's what's happening. Our, ADA is down 27% and the COLA is up 40. So that's why you see there's the impact over there on that. That's why the green general fund number is not going up like everyone else's, or not everyone else's, any district that was maintaining their ADA, which is not many in California. The last thing I want to point to on this slide is the red column. And you will see later on in the presentation that we do have a large carryover right now. We do have a good fund balance. It feels healthy. It feels great. And it seems like, hey, man, everything's going to be all right forever. And I'm going to show you the rest of that story. That restricted general fund money is coming in, and that bubble right there, the 24 million, look, it goes 13, 12, 24, 25, 40. And now we're getting out of the pandemic funding. ESSER funding is going away. Different categories of money are decreasing and going away. And we're not able to carry over as much to help extend it as long. So right now we're seeing it dwindling. That 2022, 2023, the year that we're talking about tonight, the unaudited actuals for tonight, that is our highest funding year. When you look at all the years, if you combine the red and the green columns, which is what we do, we get both, right? It's restricted and unrestricted. When you combine those, it's $107 million. But when you go down to what is projected in just a couple of years short time, we're back down to 84. Okay, so it's a tremendous shift, $23 million less that we're dealing with, and that's not far away. So how do we prepare for that? And that's why it looks different when you look at a 3-year projection, okay? All right, so here, some of the more, this is a very straightforward slide. This is the unrestricted, $63 million. That's what we received last year. And our restricted funds are the 25, 9, and 9. And that totals, if you look in the last slide again, the 4838, those numbers match up. The 25, 9, oh no, they don't exactly match up. 107,434,254 is the same as 66 and 40. The 66 and 44 with the hundreds of thousands. So this is last year's funding. That's our revenues. And here's some of the specific lines that we talked about in June, and they're there. Our unaudited actuals show that last year we spent $31.5 million on certificated salaries. We spent $12.5 plus on classified salaries. Employee benefits, look at that one, $21 million 21.6 million for benefits. I always like to remind everybody how expensive benefits are because nobody ever thinks about it. That's a tremendous amount of money for our benefits. Okay, and it's good. I'm glad everybody has the benefits they do. Definitely not complaining about it, but it costs a lot of money. And books and supplies, services and operating, 15 million. Capital outlay, which is some of the work that we did through ELOP, the playgrounds and so forth, improving our facilities. And that total that we spent last year was 91 million. So as a result of the way things went last year, again, moving salaries as we could into restricted funds, we increased our amount that we were able to carry forward this year into this year by $15 million, 15 and a half, which is great because that again is going to help us sustain and extend how long it is until we're in real fiscal trouble, if that day comes, and extend the extra services for students and extend our ability to provide the wraparound services that are being provided. So we have 15 million. A lot of that, again, was one-time money coming in. Helped us build that up a little bit. Our beginning fund balance last year was 34. So when you add those two together, it's $50 million. We came into this year, the 23-24 year, with $50 million before we get our allocation for this year. Okay. So it's very helpful in our ability to extend, but a lot of it's restricted. So that it, again, we have, like, for example, $8 million in ELOP that can't be, spent on salaries or books or anything like that. It's for extended learning opportunities. It can be spent on playgrounds and fields and things that are used after school. So we're very limited in some of the funding on what we can do with it. Our restricted fund balance is 23 million. This is a breakdown of the 50 here. Okay, so we have non-spendable is less than 1 million. The restricted fund balance is 23. Our commitments, that's things we've saved for that it's our unrestricted fund that's carrying over into the new year. So that's our unrestricted money that we've been able to carry over and commit to the things. We can't commit it to personnel, again, because it's one-time money. So we commit it to things that we're saving for. The examples that I've put down here, for example, social science curriculum, we've set aside, and I'll give you the details on the next page on what exactly we've saved for. But we've saved money for curriculum so we can buy it and it won't impact our bottom line. It won't impact we don't have to make a choice between staffing and curriculum. We don't ever want to be in a position where we're having to pick one of those, right? We've saved for the curriculum and it's separate from our staffing. It's all, reserved for us. OPEB is another one. I'll get that on the next slide. Lastly, we're required to keep 3% to protect, and it's a very low percentage, but that is the state requirement. You keep 3% to make sure that if everything goes haywire in the state and they don't send you your money one time, you can still make your payroll, and that's about what it lasts. You can make, maybe a month and a half of payroll using that 3%. Typically, it doesn't carry far, but it is what is required to reserve, and that's what we do. So these are the commitments I was talking about. This is the money. This is like in our savings account. This is what we have budgeted to spend on these things, and it's money that is kind of like reserved, and it's one-time money. LCAP carryover, department site carryover, curriculum adoption, again, the science that I was talking about. OPEB, this one. I remind you that we help with insurance costs for retirees. That is part of our commitment until they're 65. Or not all retirees, but there's a class of our former employees. That is something that we're committed to, and we have saved money to help offset some of that. Each year we're spending about $450,000 on retirees' health costs, which is not abnormal or anything like that. It's a good thing. It helps take care of our employees. It helps incentivize people to be teachers and classified staff members and educators and so forth. So it's a good thing. But each year we're spending $450,000 or so on this, and we don't have anywhere that it's coming from other than the new year's allocation. So when we get new money for the year, we know that, you know, almost 0.5% is, or even more, is being spent on that cause and that purpose. So what we're trying to do, our hope is that we can, and this was started under our previous CBO, Eric, is to create an account, a trust account that will help offset some of those costs. So if we're getting interest on that money, hopefully we're hoping that that can, over time, actually increase and start a trust account, and then have that money that's coming in on the interest help fund those employees, former employees' health related costs. Last one is the health and welfare insurance pool reserve. Again, that's if we budgeted money to spend on employees' health insurance, and some employees take different health insurance or have a spouse or have other options and use those other options. Whatever ends up being left over, we hold that and help offset insurance costs the next year. I don't know if you've heard about the health insurance increases that are happening statewide. It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough out there. So we've saved a little money to help offset some of that. And protection against future revenue loss, $5 million, again, sounds like a tremendous amount of money, and to any one of us it would be, but when I talked about having 15 million less coming in and things like that, 4 million, 5 million in your rainy day fund is not a lot, and it's what it's going to do is help us make good decisions later that are going to extend some of these opportunities. Just some smaller funds here. These are unaudited actuals on some of the other funds that we have in our district. There's not a lot of note. I'll give you a second to look at it. I won't go through each one. Cafeteria special revenue fund. I will point out there is 4.6 million in that opportunity. So we have opportunities there to think about how that money will be allocated. The building fund, we went from 9 million in our building fund. That is the bond money. There's more money than that available. We still have not exhausted our bond, but for the money that we've gone out to get and the money that we've sold bonds for, we had at the beginning of last year 9 million. At the end of last year, we had 4 million. So that's 5 million in expenditures of bond expenditures to improve facilities that happened last year. So we still have 4 million in bond money available, which is good. It's great. It's great opportunity for us to make some of those decisions when we think about, you know, some of the needs, safety and access needs that we have identified. I think that's, you know, if you have questions about any of the other ones, please ask when I conclude. And this slide shows that picture again, the beginning fund balance. For example, real quick, you see an increase. The beginning fund balance went from 31 in our adopted budget, and now we've added the carryover in. We've added some of those restricted dollars that had not been committed yet. For example, we added $8.4 million in ELOP funding that we knew was coming, that we knew we were going to have to account for. So that increased that fund balance to the 50 million that we discussed. Which again, how do you have a $50 million bank account and have a problem? It doesn't seem possible. It doesn't seem logical, but it's the reality, and we have to understand the why of it. I hope I was able to paint that picture a little bit, but I'm not the only painter. I'm not the only artist, and the county is artists as well. San Diego County Office of Education, they have fiduciary responsibility for our district. They have as much interest in our district staying afloat and doing well as we do. They're responsible for our district at the state level. When we have problems, the county's the one that hears about it. They're the one that has to deal with it. So the county plays a very conservative role in all this. Their job is to make sure. They don't want to hope. They're not hoping that you have this money. They want very strict interpretations. For example, the county has identified to us, we said that we think our attendance during the pandemic last year slipped down to 89% or so, 89.5, 89.4%. And what we put in our projections moving forward is we think we're going to be back up at 92.5. And I fully believe that. I fully believe that, National's going to get back to the 95% that we enjoyed before the pandemic started. It might not happen all the way this year, but we're going to get back there. And we projected 92.5% as a group. We decided that would be a fair number. It provides a goal for us. It provides reality for budgeting. It provides, it's responsible, we felt. It wasn't the most conservative, but the county's role is not to hope. Their job is to use what happened in the past, accounting principles. You build on the last year's accounting to create this year's budget. And so when they're saying you need to look at that again and consider going back down towards the 89. So the county, and that's not the only thing they had to say to us. The county sent us a letter recently, just this past week. I believe it was included in the Friday board update. And in this letter, it says, the picture is dramatic enough. I don't like big dramatic pictures like that, but this isn't coming from a magazine or coming from an advocacy group, or this is coming from San Diego County Office of Education, the ones who have the responsibility for our fiscal well-being and our health, okay? And they're saying, you guys need to take a look at this and be ready for this and make decisions today so you don't have to make a lot more tough decisions tomorrow. And in that letter, they said, based on this analysis, we have concluded that the district will be able to meet its financial obligations in 23-24. Hooray! We're going to make it through this year, everybody. That's good. And our budget's approved for this year, which is great news. The district's budget has therefore been approved by the San Diego County Superintendent of Schools. However, the budget submitted projects the district will be unable to meet its financial commitments in subsequent fiscal years without additional budget solutions. The district adopted resolution number 22-23.46, indicating the need to make $3.8 million of budget reductions by fiscal year 25-26 to maintain the minimum required reserve levels. The district must submit a detailed list of approved budget reductions by the first interim report, which, if we go back to the earlier slide, that happens in December. So between now and December, we need to figure out how can we save $3.8 million 3 years from now? And how are we going to do that? What decisions do we make now? And what decisions do we make? You may recall the resolution the board approved that said that $3.8 million is we're going to find a way. They took that, they accepted it, they were happy, that was the county's job. We did that for the county. They accepted it. They said, yes, the resolution went through. But now we want to see how. We want to know a little bit more about how. And they're giving us, it's a big homework assignment, it's a big project, and it's due in December. And we're going to get an A in that project, I can promise you that. But it's not the kind of project you want to have to do, okay? So we are going to have to talk about it. So we're not resigning ourselves, and we're not resigning as a fiscal department to the fact that this is going to be solved through nothing but layoffs, and it's going to be gloom and doom, and there are no raises, and we don't think that way, and we don't believe that way. We believe that we're going to be able to get through this and excel just like we need to for our children. But with that, our next steps. Submit the unaudited actuals to the County Office of Education. Our auditors come in and complete the review of last year's budget and tell us if we were accurate in our estimated actuals. Then the big line here is an internal review of existing budget and potential solutions. So between now and the end of October, it's our full intent to really look at every possible solution that we can find. And we are going to do that first as a fiscal department and bring forth our findings to the executive cabinet to begin talking about possibilities. We'll know more then. I mean, today we're just now getting the real clear high def picture of what happened last year. You know, we had an idea, we had the fuzzy, low grade. Now we've got the high def pic. We know exactly where we are. We're going to use this time to really analyze our options and analyze the possibilities, analyze our spending, analyze our commitments. And by the time first interim comes around in December, we will have had those conversations. We will, as a fiscal department, brought recommendations and possibilities forth to executive cabinet. And I can't tell you what's going to happen then because I don't know what's going to happen until we do it. but it's probably going to be one of two outcomes. We're either going to be talking about adjusting our budget and changing some of the things that we're committing to and identifying some things that are going to drop off in future years, or perhaps even some cuts that we can make this year in our budget that are non-personnel related, but things that we can be fiscally responsible for and about now. And then we're also going to look at the possibility, the other possibility is we can identify enough things as a fiscal department and executive cabinet and board, then we're going to have to look at possibly committing to some sort of specific action to balance the budget. And that would require some sort of board action. Our hope is that we can resolve the issue on the budgetary level, but there's no telling until we do the work. So I look forward to updating you on that in the future. 2023-24 comprehensive audit, that's the final look. That is the last piece of the puzzle for the 22-23 year. Will happen in January. We'll say, hey, compared to our internal audit and compared to our audited actuals, here's what happened. We were off by $3.82 on this category. Although I don't anticipate that because we have Arena. Last but not least, thank you from the fiscal services team. I would like to publicly again thank Arena Kellard. She is fabulous. She's outstanding at her job as our budget director. And the whole team, Virginia, Michael, Charlene, Perla, and Evelyn. It's a great team I'm honored to be a part of. So thank you very much for your time.
Board have any questions?
Oh, yeah.
comments?
Oh, I have to wait for that part.
Any questions?
So random things. First of all, thank you for taking the time to explain some of those things that, like I said, we talk about ADA, but to really have a clear understanding of how that is impacting us is different because we've been throwing it around. And the based on this year, based on that year, based on what year, based on, and so we need the clear numbers of what our deployment looks like, because it's $7.5 million in those five. And I'm sorry, kids, we are not talking about you like your money. Please forgive me for that, because that's not what I mean. But that $500 or 500 loss of students is $7.5 million that comes to the district just on that based on your 15,000 per child. That's a substantial change from one year to the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do talk about that, understanding that COLA, I mean, and it's lovely to add up the COLA and say over 40% in raw numbers, but that's not the way it works. Thank you though for taking the time for that. I would like the details on the 1%.
Absolutely.
For different areas, and actually something, I don't know if we've asked for it before here, but it would be, I would appreciate it if the certificated salaries and classified salaries, that the administrative salaries were actually separated out of that.
Will do.
Okay.
We can provide that update on Friday.
Okay, because, we are, I mean, on the one hand, teacher salaries, we try to honor with raises and increases, we do try to honor all groups in an equitable manner. But we're losing a very intentional population and demographic of our groups by saying that you're all you're all certificated staff. So it would be good, and I feel a little more clear. Also, thank you for the one-time money explanation. I think of it like when you get your tax refund.
Great
That
comparison.
you can't buy a car unless you're buying a very small car that is already a 1999, Toyota Corolla. You can't keep putting that kind of money. You can't turn around and say, I'm putting $3,000. I'm gonna work on that Maserati. You can't do that when you get it once. And so the reserves, I know that we have been intentional. I know that Dr. Kraft has worked diligently on how we move things, like how we support staffing salaries with the LCAP funds, because they are meeting the needs based on our LCAP, like our counselors and people, and I'm thankful for that. How long does that go? Like, what is the realistic long term of us being able to cover salaries with restricted funds? I feel like that's something I would like to understand better. At what point does this, I mean, and granted, we can't read minds, but at what point does the state say, not really what we meant for? And the next thing we know, we are back to counselors who they decide maybe that we don't need to have that in it. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm finding myself a little untrustworthy of some of those possible decisions. And one last thought. It's not one last thought, it's just a last thought. So, could we see what our realistic curriculum adoption schedule is? Like, what are we, like, because right now you've listed social studies and science, but we also have reading and writing and math and PE and ELD and sexual education and reproductive health. Like, we have curriculum for all of these very many things. And so I feel like it feels like right now we're saying that all the book money is only for those things. Well, then where would the book money be if we spell it? How are things slotted out over the next number of years? Knowing that standards change, knowing that curriculum adoptions should be appropriate to standard changes, like, how I almost feel like it's, I'm saving money for this one event and not planning for the next one. So if we have a better understanding of curriculum adoption coming forward, yes, what cycles are, and I realize it used to be minimum of 7 or whatever, and that's not how we're looking at it anymore. But like, I know for reproductive health, they're saying that we might not see curriculum for that till and adoptions till 2027. Well, okay, but are we saving money for that now? Like, or is our money only going for social studies and science right now? Like, how are we planning ahead for those things? And the last thing, and I've told you this before, how do we as districts refuse the forced consumables that are annually sent to us that we don't always use, that teachers sometimes find helpful and sometimes don't, that are mandated as part of our curriculum by the curriculum companies who are not interested in whether or not they are saving our kids money every time they put out curriculum? A lot of that stuff could be online and teachers could print as they want. Instead, we get books and books and books and books and books that we don't need. It's not. And as Ms. Lizarraga would point out to us, too many trees are involved in that nonsense. So why are we over the barrel to buy things like that when we aren't necessarily using them in the way like that? So things like that just, when I think curriculum, those are some of the random things I think. Now I'm done. Thank you.
Is that a question or just a comment?
Comments.
Okay.
Comments.
Ms. Lizarraga is next.
Yeah, I have a question for Dr. Burke and for the whole team. Maybe you can pass on the sentiment. My question is how this reduction of 3.5 million will look like in regards to talkings and your discussions within the department, because we want audience to know, because 3.8 million might look not too much, but for us it's too much.
I agree.
So would be something, what is the discussions within the department? Because in the past we were saying we were overstaffed, we were spending a lot. So how would the discussions are within the department?
Sure, and I want to go back to one thing that Trustee Gates was talking to, because it relates to your point as well. one of the things that, as we talked about moving staffing into restricted funds and accounts that are managed by the Ed Services Department and the marvelous Dr. Kraft, how do we get back out of that? How do we escape from that? How do we recover from that and still stay solvent is part of the question too. And we can't necessarily budget for this, but the reality is there will be retirements, there will be positions that are closed, there will be, with declining enrollment, you need less teaching staff for one. So when we have 500 less students, that equates to a certain number of fewer teachers. And so as people in both the restricted accounts and the unrestricted accounts are retiring, if we're not replacing them one for one, and we're strategic about only replacing the positions that are essential for our students, the ones that we have to have, and we can get our class sizes maintain them within the contract limits, that is a big piece of how we're going to get out of this. Or get through this. I don't want to say it's hard to say you're getting out of something when you have $50 million in your pocket, but how do we get through this? So that's a piece of it, but the problem is we can't just say that to the county. We can't just say, oh, people are going to retire. That's cool, we're good. Because again, I said the county has to do this the most conservative way possible. If the people are on our books today, they will be on our books in all years of the multi-year projection. So we believe that a lot of the problem is going to be resolved that way. But what we're going to undertake in October is looking at every single line of our budget going back to 18-19, that same year that I shared with you before the pandemic started. How did we spend money in 2018-19 in every single line of our budget? How do we spend it in 21-22, 22-23, and what have we budgeted this year? So when we look at those details, and I can't tell you the outcomes of it yet, but when we go in and do that work, I believe we're going to find some savings and some changes that we can make in the way that we're budgeting our funds. But until we go and look at every single line, we're not going to know. So it's almost like our own internal audit that we're doing. And I believe we're going to find savings in there as well that will translate. And the key is the earlier you take action in times of budget shiftiness like this, the earlier, it's kind of like a small change now has a big change over time, right? Yeah. So if we do something that saves us 1 million, 1.3 million, 1.4 million per year, and we find it now in October, well, then that multiplied by 3 solves the problem and we don't have to worry about it. However, let's remember this too, though. We're looking at this as a timeline for December when we have to report to the county. But what none of the budget assumptions include is the increases in cost to future health. We know this year's increases, but they're not negotiated yet. We know the cost to us and our employees has gone up dramatically. And we haven't even negotiated, but we know at the end of the day, there's going to be costs that are either going to be shared by both or how it's going to work out. That has to be negotiated. So I don't know, but there are going to be new costs that aren't in that. So that 3.8 million, we can solve that. And then we're really existing. There's another problem bubbling up that we're going to talk about next year. And it's in whatever raise that 3.8 million that we need to find does not include any raise for this year. So as I discussed, if there was a 1% raise, and I'm not saying that that's anything in negotiations, I'm using the cost of 1%. If there was a 1% raise, that would cost the district an additional $600,000. If we did that this year, that means we have to find by that third year $1.8 million because it's each year. It's ongoing funds, right? So raises are ongoing. So if we increase by 1%, that's $600,000 this year, $600,000 next year, and $600,000 a year after that. So it becomes a new $1.8 million issue that we've got to find out how to solve. So when you multiply the 1% by different numbers, of course, the issue that we have to resolve increases.
Thank you.
You can add to that?
So just wanted to add, we were having that very conversation today. So not all of this is salaries. We did talk about salaries in particular, that we have one-time money. We used to pay for some of those salaries out of LCAP. When we got more restricted funds, the board had asked us, please use the most restricted funds first. So we moved some of our salaries from LCAP into things like ESSER 3. In the third year that you see where the drop goes below the 3%, those funds are gone, and those potentially could be back in the general fund, but the intent is to put them back in the LCAP, which could change that graph. So that's some of the work of what we're going to do to look at where are they in the third year to make sure they're coded correctly. Another coding thing that we talked about that Dr. Burke and Arena already found was that when we have facility projects, those can get very costly. You saw the beautiful fields. The first one, we used ELOP for our fields. We also have things for deferred maintenance. We also have our bond, and our bond is very restrictive dollars for upgrading our facilities for safety and accessibility primarily. So they were looking through and they found about $4 million worth of projects that actually qualify as bond projects, but were coded in deferred maintenance that go above and beyond the budget that hits the general fund. So backing those out at first interim, recoding them to the bond fund where we had, you saw $4 million already in the bank, not even the bonds that we sold, could change that graph as well. So that's the work that Dr. Burke is talking about, that we've already started talking about, asking some of those questions about where things are coded and where might we code them to keep things from hitting the general fund as long as possible until the state figures out their system of not funding us with one-time money year over year.
I think what
Zavulos.
thank you. I'm still confused that I remember at one time we had 6,000 students and now we're down to 4,000 students. Did we actually lose them because of the pandemic, or are we putting the blame on the pandemic? Is all the districts putting the blame on the pandemic? I mean, after all, I don't think we had too many families move away from National City. Our Navy is still here. Or nobody's having any more children.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean,
And then did the other districts, like you said, all the districts are going through the same thing. Did they lose almost as much as we did, or almost 2,000 children in their districts? Although our district is small, only 10 schools, but have they lost in that percentage, of students in their districts?
I'm going to go to Trustee Gates on that one.
South Bay has lost a similar proportion of students.
Yeah.
Part of it is that we just, like, people just can't afford to keep living here. And yes, there's also a reduction overall. If you speak with my cultural anthropologist I'm married to, he will tell you that, like, overall we are seeing much less, many fewer children being born, and as like people who have come to live here, that proportionally fewer children as well, as people acclimate to our healthcare systems, and people acclimate to how we live our lives. We are, like, there are studies done that show that people whose like grandparents came might have had 5 children. Now they're having 1 or 2. And so things like their kids are having 1 or 2. It's just what is happening. Plus, we are also, if you check the news, we're losing people to Texas and all kinds of other places where they can afford to live. You cannot, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I don't know how we expect people to continue to buy houses in National City who are from National City when they are telling us that you have to spend $800,000 for a 2-bedroom place. That's our community. We're hard, like, our families are hard workers, working multiple jobs, taking care of their kids. But an $800,000 house is what, $4,000 a month at least?
Easy.
At least in a mortgage. I don't have that kind of money. I don't know who does, but not people who
have big families.
our families and who are our community. It's just not who we are. We can't afford to live here.
Yeah, it's definitely not something specific that National School District has done. We're not unique in this at all. I go back to this slide. This is just in a few years, and this doesn't even show the full picture of, this really doesn't even capture the last 2 years where the inflation has been insane, right? You got everything costs 10% more than it did a year ago, and then that happens again for another year. So the costs have just become prohibitive. People, like Trustee Gates said, it's any family anywhere trying to come up with $800,000 when they have other options. That being said, if you want a world-class education, you come to National School District and you spend that $800,000.
I know that the city,
Or your rent.
I know the
That's right.
city, because I was at the city council meeting the last time, and I'm gonna go again on Tuesday. The city's trying to find out, the city owns different lots where they can build affordable housing, because they understand the need for it. You know, some say, like only a certain percentage can be affordable. To some of these high rises, they're just Cracker Jack boxes, if you ask me. You know,
And then even when you see the affordable housing too, they say they're going to commit to the projects, and then even the project of affordable housing doesn't sound all that affordable to the average family still.
And I know that another question I have, I know that we overlook Integrity Charter School. Have they had a declining in enrollment? I know there's a San Diego Academy, and what people have to pay to go to that school, but Integrity Charter School, are they also in declining in enrollment as well?
I believe they're steady, but
Because
I'll
we do overlook it.
go to Dr. Kraft.
Yes, they've experienced a very similar pattern that we, that we have. As Trustee Gates has shared, it was already a pattern that was happening prior to the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, we anticipated a decline. I think we were looking at maybe 6 or 7%. And when we looked at it, we were between 10 and 12% looking at various. And so we've never recovered from that. And then the trend of decline has continued. And so that is, the board was presented a study that we did do a demographic study and trying to analyze what are some of our options with that in 21 and 22. And what we did find is that, as Dr. Burke shared, is that if we get our kids early, they tend to stay. And so we have made moves. We did open up TK immediately. The state had given us a graduated a system for release. We immediately opened it up, and it was a good thing. We were able to serve our families, especially after the pandemic. It was had some really positive repercussions in terms of helping our families out and getting our kids early. And we haven't seen a lot of loss in that. We've maintained. So that was a continued step. But I think and then we brought in San Diego County Office of Education. We have the Infant Center for anybody out there. I'm going to go ahead and put a plug in. We have a wonderful program through San Diego County Office of Ed, and our families get priority. And if a family member is going to school or working, and childcare is becoming prohibitive of those actions, they could come to National School District and sign up for our infant care program. And it's a no-cost child care program and preschool program. Not in competition with us, in a step up for us, right here at our little preschool center, in hopes of capturing our students as early as we can to keep them. But as Trustee Gates said, they got to be here. I mean, so if they've moved to Riverside, no matter how attractive, our early programs are, it's not viable. So.
I just want to make a comment,
Yeah.
Part of the discussion about our enrollment is not just California. Something that the conference that when I attended at NALEO, there's many states represented there, and it's across the United States. So it is attributed from the not having as many births with families. They're not as big as they used to be. But yes, California is unique in terms of the cost of living, is a big problem, but we're not the only ones experiencing that. So, I think that's kind of what a lot of the conversation is about, but it's not, not just California. So, I guess we have to just figure out a way to be creative on being able to, survive, yeah.
The ongoing projection continues to be 2 to 3% per year is expected to drop in enrollment. So that's what the projection, 2 to 3% per year ongoing. That's not what was projected the last few years. That's saying from this point going forward, it will continue to be an additional 2 to 3% per year of loss. That's the projection.
Ms. Gates.
Well, and you mentioned attendance as well. And that's another
Thank
thing
you.
that is down all over the state of California. It's a common lament. And some of it is because we are still COVID shy. If one of our children is coughing in the morning, we keep them home. Like, they are just not going to school. And so, but we also have, I think we're more responsive when it comes to, for instance, mental health as well. Parents are more cautious if their children are under stress. And they're more willing to be lenient with them. And there are a lot of ways you can't fault them for that. And so some things that we encourage is, hey, mom, dad, guardians, auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa, whoever your adults are, hey, if you have a doctor appointment, still come later in the day. We still get credit for your student being here, and that credit matters to what we, like in this big scale, to what services we can provide your child and everybody. If you have a 10 o'clock doctor's appointment and you take them out early, but you're done by 11 o'clock, okay, maybe you do sneak them some Jack in the Box before you come back, because, we do that sometimes, but still bring them back to us, because it does affect the way that these counts take place and what credit we get towards our attendance, which affects, again, the bottom line of what money we get to take care of kids. And so,
And also they miss less instructional time.
that would be another thing. Yes, that instructional time, because I can tell you every time I miss students, what did I miss? And I just go,
What didn't you miss?
well, and and I'm on 55-minute rotations with students. So if they come to me, that's I can tell them about my 50. I don't have to. It's not the whole day again, but even just missing that 155-minute English rotation. They've missed all the discussion, they missed the planning, they missed the opportunity to work in class, they missed the opportunity to ask questions. I mean, there's so many things. So, attendance is everywhere. That doesn't mean we can't do better. So, yeah.
Dr. Brady.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the comment on the report that we had. There was a demographic study in 21-22, and I'd be happy to include that in the Friday packet for the board to review, because it was projections at the time, but you'll see that it's starting to play out the way it was projected. So it does give us some really good information on how to do that guessing and that science and that art budgeting. It did, in particular, talked about the pressure on housing. So you're absolutely right, Trustee Avalos. We need more places for people in National City to live, and we need cost-effective or lower income places so people can afford to live in National City. One of the beautiful things about National City is if you're lucky enough to live here, you don't leave. So as less people are being born and they age out of our school district and they go to Sweetwater or they go to the college or university and into their lives, they stay in National City. Some even stay in the home that they grew up in. And so those children are older and they're not elementary. And so there isn't that turnover in houses like you see. It's wonderful for our city, not so good for new kids coming into our school district. So just another piece of that puzzle.
I did go to the city council meeting and I spoke how important it is to have housing here in National City. And I gave an example as my youngest granddaughter, I raised 5. The youngest is 27. She just got married last year. She looked around to buy a home here. She wanted to stay in National City. I wanted her to stay here.
And have babies and bring them to us.
What?
I said, and have babies and bring them to us.
Exactly. I don't want to drive all the way to Menifee to babysit. But she said, Grandma, I went all over. I looked at houses. She didn't want a condo. She didn't want a townhouse. She wanted one with a yard like her brother has. And sooner or later, maybe put a pool back there because her oldest brother has a nice home. She had to move. She says, I found a house that I liked, but it was $50,000 worth of work. Probably needed plumbing and roofing and whatever. So she moved all the way to Menifee. And now to come down here is about an hour drive. You know, and she has a 4 bedroom, so maybe she has one for me.
Not anytime soon.
I have a question for Dr. Kraft.
And I will be going back to the city council meeting again I want everybody that lives in National City to vote for affordable housing.
Thank you.
Well said.
Dr. Kraft, you had mentioned the early childhood education, the center that's going in, sponsored by the county, and you said no cost. My question to you is, do the parents have to live in National City to qualify, or how does that work?
No, it's a county program, but our partnership with the county puts priority to our National City parents. They did do a look at the areas when they were looking to see who they would partner with. And because of our location to proximity of other areas like East San Diego and such, we were a perfect spot. And so the partnership we have, an agreement is that our families get priority. And so we're actually, we've been advertising, we're getting kids. You do have to qualify. And so I do know it's related to not so much income, but those components that I was sharing in terms of a need. I'm going to go to school so I can get my degree and, but I can't go to school because, I got to take care of the baby. This program is aimed to alleviate that.
And we'll keep any babies that come through that are not in our district currently.
Okay.
I have a question. I know you
I'm
said
not
that
done
the
yet.
county.
Wait, I still have the floor.
Oh, sorry.
Going back to that same discussion, now you're saying that they don't have to live in National City, but our parents do get the priority. So that's great. Are we gonna do a ribbon cutting or something to let everyone know? This is just like the playground that we did recently. Let the world know that this is what we're doing in National City, because I've seen it on the news. I've seen it in the paper recently. Childcare. It's a big problem. I think this is we may get to the point to where we have a waiting list. Wouldn't that be?
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's what we're aiming for. That's so funny, Trustee Sarmiento, that literally came in our email just like an hour ago.
And when does it open?
It's open now, but the ribbon cutting and all of that, they're trying to get that organized. It'll be kind of a,
So they've done all the renovations of the building.
They've done it, and they've been securing people. It's kind of hard to get the word out in terms of the people understanding the purpose of this simply is to help you transition to the next place that you're looking to be. And so, but we did receive it, since it's our partnership with the county, and is trying to get Dr. Brady and Dr. Gotholz and everyone's calendar. It got pushed out with everyone's crazy calendar, probably to the late winter, early spring. They're still looking at dates. Dr. Gotholz's calendar is probably just as crazy, if not crazier, than Dr. Brady's. And of course they've got their their executive team. So We will know soon enough and we'll be able to do that. We're actually just starting emails and negotiating a date that'll work for everybody.
Good. Okay, and just one last comment for Dr. Burke. Lottery money. I'd like to hear your opinion on that.
I wish, we do use it as we can, to help offset some costs. But it's not the great boon that, is meant,
I know
that the
initially
public
they
thinks
said
it is.
a large chunk would go to the schools, and then next thing you know, it's less and less and less. I also heard that someone is suing the state. Have you heard anything?
That I
about
have not heard of, but I'll pursue looking
Yeah,
into
to make
that.
sure that the money goes to the schools. Maybe not 100%, I can understand that, but at least a decent chunk more than what we're getting now.
I will look into any lawsuits and may attach my name to it if it need be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ms.
I
Avalos.
was gonna ask, you said that the school, that's over there by Lincoln Acres, right? They're having it, and the county has, are helping or doing that. Is that, are there teachers being paid out of our budget, or it's coming out of their money?
We still have our staff, our preschool staff. I think there's 2 classes or maybe 1 class that's there. But anything that's related to the program that I just described, they would go through the county. And we actually, that was another thing. As you know, when we got TK, it was a significant hit on the number of students that were in preschool. So we pretty much took all of the 4-year-olds and brought them into TK. And the way that preschool is funded under the preschool grant is kind of seat time. And so again, it's another one of these wonderful state budgeting pieces where you kind of have to guess and write that we think we're going to get so many kids. And then you start the program, you build the program on that budget. And then if the kids don't show up, you got to start cutting and you don't get the money. And so it did take a significant hit. We've got 2 funding sources, Head Start and California State Preschool. So we thought that this would be another way to help with our 3-year-old program because again, those kids, we keep them. They'll be at that little red schoolhouse and they'll be in the county program, but again, in partnership with us. For them, it won't see any different. They'll just go into the next class, but it'll actually be from the county to the San Diego County office.
So to build on that, there's kind of 2 separate preschool programs happening within our boundaries. Both one is our own internal preschool, and we fund that, but the program that she's talking about is funded by county funds.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, discussion? You're off the hook.
Thank you very much.
For a very good presentation,
Thank you.
and Arena for backing him up.
Arena.
You know he couldn't do it without you.
Now you can do
Absolutely
it.
true.
Okay, and so do we have a motion?
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda, a second by Ms. Avalos. There's no discussion, please vote.
No discussion.
Item passes unanimously.
Okay, no more discussion. Okay. Under 9B, adopt resolution 2324.15 for GAN appropriations limit for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move motion to adopt.
I will second.
We have a motion by Ms. Gates, second by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda. Please vote.
I'm stuck again.
Can we trash this system?
No, I don't like, I just said yes.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Under C, to authorize the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services to advertise for playground equipment installations.
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Ms. Avalos, second by Ms. Gates. Please vote.
I could press the motion.
I did not make the motion. I'm gonna press it.
It's not working.
Where's Liam?
Did it go?
No, Lee,
No.
the young man who was supposed to help us get that.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably doing homework.
Where's our jet team?
Yeah.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item D to approve CT 4117 with BCK Programs LLC for benchmarking / monitoring sustainability best practices. Excuse me, I'm talking.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda, second by Ms. Gates. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Yes.
Item E to award contract CT 4113 for bid 18-19-193 fresh fruit and vegetables to Coast Citrus Distributors, Inc.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Avalos, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda, please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item F to accept donations. Altoona School applied for a County of San Diego Community Grant and was awarded $50,000 to be used for after-school programs.
We all-
Motion to approve.
We all approve.
Motion to accept.
Second the motion.
Who made the motion? Ms. Okay. We have a motion made by Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda, second by Ms. Avalos. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Okay, Board Cabinet Communications, Ms. Avalos.
Okay, here it goes. First of all, I'm really so proud of our children that they did just a good job and good speakers. You know, they practiced, they did a good job practicing. Thank you for the educators that are doing such a good job. And of course, the principal, you can see how proud she was listening to her children, to the children in the school. They did a great job. And I like it because they already know what they want to do, where they want to go, what they want to be in life. You know, you ask some other children, oh, I don't know yet, but these children knew exactly what they wanted to do. They're going to succeed in all that they want. I did attend the Masters in Governance. It was my second class, which was really nice. I really like it. They have great speakers. And one of the things that there was a table around me there, and they said, the board members were all there. And they said that every time they get a new board member, they all go and take their Masters in Governance. They don't wait for 10 or 12 or, you know, if they've taken it that long ago. They all go to the Masters in Governance if they have a new board member, even if they get reelected, they go. All 5 of them go and get the Masters in Governance, which was, I had never heard that before, but they were very proud of themselves going and being there, which I thought was a great idea because we did learn something different all the time. And of course, I want to say happy birthday, Michelle. Happy birthday, Rosina. I sometimes call her Rosalinda, but I tell her that's because she's pretty, so Rosalinda. Because sometimes I'll give the people a different name. But thank you, Dr. Brady, for the gift, for the birthday gift. Appreciate it. And another thing that, Kiaz, we spoke about it already, even at the last board meeting, the people that attended the ribbon cutting of Ira Harbison was really nice. You know, I thought it was great. And again, Dr. Burke, Dr. Leangela Brady, for taking me and taking a tour of it. I thought it was really great. It really was. And our mayor was there, and our city council mayor, Mr. Rodriguez, and other official dignitaries that were there, policemen and firemen and stuff. And I thought it was nice. I took some really nice pictures that I haven't posted yet, but I will, maybe when I get home tonight. Because I took all the pictures with the school phone when I went with you. And I took a lot, but now I have to transfer them over to my private phone. And I'm full with pictures. Because I don't have a Facebook on the school phone. But I'll do that so that those that were not unable to go see the nice playground that they have. Of course, now I have people telling me that their school should be second. One of the schools, of course, should be Kimball School. There is no grass at Kimball School. So are we gonna pull out a name of who's gonna be first and who's gonna be second? Or how are we going to decide what school is next?
Palmer Way is already underway, and the board did approve the ELAP plan, so we'll keep you posted on the different projects through board approval. So you get to approve.
Okay. And thank you again, Mrs. Hayes, for always being a good cheerleader for us. I really appreciate it. I enjoy seeing you, you know, and even though you always did come to every board meeting, which I think that's great. Thank you so much. And once again, happy birthday to the Virgo girls. Nice presentation, Dr. Burke, and answering all those great questions. Thank you so much.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda.
Thank you. I would like to start off by thanking everybody for being here this evening. And also our students for presenting tonight or this evening. I was very impressed, as I always am with our students. But the extent of their knowledge, their speaking skills is just amazing. The junior technology, with this junior education technology squad, which is the JETS, that's something that I don't think any of our students realize how important it is to have a skill, the niche, to be able to work with something that's very intimidating at such a young age. And I know I have spoken about this before in terms of the technology and the lack of resources that are out there because of the demand is so high, and when we get the hacking and so on. This is going to set them up to be able to have a very high demand position, you know, for their future. So I am excited that this is being brought forward in our recycling program. It's important that our students understand the concept and the importance of not just doing it in school, but taking it home and doing it beyond our education world. And the Morning Buddies, it's exciting to see. It's like that big brother in school that you may not have, that they feel so much more comfortable. And that also makes parents feel very comfortable knowing that their student has a older buddy that can help them learn the ropes in a positive way and be able to make them feel more secure. So I'm excited that they're have implemented that, and then they're doing that at the school. Hopefully we can see this across the district. So wanted to welcome our new employees, and Dr. Burke, thank you for such a very extensive presentation. I'm a person of finance background, but the way you explained it was very in simple form, where any of us can grasp it and be able to, even if we've heard it already, it's so important that we continue to hear, and how all the different categories and how the different monies and the way they're integrated and separated and so on and so forth, because it is still very difficult. School finance is very complex. So thank you, and I'm sure we'll still have questions, but just because we don't see it on a daily basis like you do, but to know that you are so passionate about what you do, and Arena, being part of that team, it's you guys are the dream team, you know. So thank you so much, and I know you have a lot of support, others, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but that department is amazing. So thank you for all that you do. Wanted to also touch on the ribbon cutting. It was very nice to see families or other elected officials from the city. We had our two council members, Dita Jimani and Jose Rodriguez, and then our mayor was also present, and a few of our SROs and then our officers there. It's important that we do this as a community, because but we don't want it to be hidden. We want it to be, we want to advertise it, and we want to bring people in because we should be proud of what's happening in our district. And look forward to, I know Palmer Way is a bigger project, but what I've seen, it was almost, we were getting pretty close to being done, and it's amazing. So we're actually utilizing the space wisely, and our students are going to be so spoiled. I want to go back to be a kid again and be able to utilize it, but I think we can still, even though we're not kids, right? We're going to have some sort of tournament. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Intramurals, got it.
Next time we get them. And I wanted to, I know this is not our district, but we feed into the district, and a lot of these students that are seniors now were our students when my son was promoting from 6th grade. So to see their faces, to go back, I went to Sweetwater's, their homecoming assembly that we were all, as board members, invited to, and to see their faces now, it's just amazing how much they've grown. I'm like, oh my goodness, you were students, how many years ago, 6 years ago. So it was a good experience. I hope that many of you will be able to attend the Friday assembly or the homecoming game. And last but not least, I wanted to say happy birthdays. The majority of the board up there, Mrs. Avalos, Mrs. Izarraga, and Mrs. Gates. I know you guys are all September babies. Just wanted to wish you a happy early birthday. Enjoy your special day. And also, a happy belated birthday to my son, Ernie. He celebrated and turning 21. He turned 21. So, big milestone birthday. I don't want to talk too much about it because, I get emotional, but it's just amazing on how Miss Hayes knows him from a long time ago. So she knows it's been a while. So, but it's just amazing on how much they've grown and the young man he has becoming. So I am very proud of him. And I want to wish everybody an upcoming and restful upcoming fall break. I said that correctly.
Yeah.
But I know that we still have another week and a couple days, but we won't see each other then. So please enjoy your time. Get some rest. For those who are with students all day. But thank you to our families for all their dedication and all of our staff for always doing great things for our students. So with that, have a wonderful time. Oh wait, no, I'm kidding.
Thank you, Ms. Lizarraga.
Thank you. Well, welcoming to our new employees. That's always nice to see people that are eager to be part of our family, and I can be so proud of people that come in and have a good time and this welcoming environment that we give them when they show up to our board meeting. So I would like to congratulate the students. I can see Ms. Santana's face when she was facing them and being so proud of them and managing words like responsibility, environmental, and well-being, and all the type of components that makes an outstanding student that we're creating. I couldn't be so any more proud of them and the way they speak out and they look at the script and they look at us, and this is leadership and this is not easy to manage. So I was very proud of all the students that they came in. So I would like to give a big shout out to the principals in our own school wide, and they do an amazing job. And I just want to give at this moment to give them a shout out to find creative ways to interact with the kids, finding resources. And this is the good testament of this is the grant that we have for Alto Young. Reading the description of what they're going to use it for is very valuable. So hopefully we can get used to that money, and thank you for the donor. And hopefully we can get more excitement about that and give a big shout out to Alto Young family that they're going to invest the money in a good way. So I would like that. And well, happy birthday to all, the majority of the board. Así es, I would like to, Mrs. Bethencourt Castañeda about how we have to keep ourselves in a family environment because we need those moments, even though the pandemic is gone, but not completely gone. The fear and emotions are there. I see kids with the mask and COVID is hitting a little bit of higher numbers now, and the fear is still there. So we are more conscious about being a buddy. Like, for example, like the girl that said, I smile and I'm welcoming. It creates a big difference every student at a time. So it may be not all of them at a time, but it creates a big, hopefully we can do that district-wide and implement a small project that makes a difference for student in a day for their learning. So I would like to thank you for that initiative of being made in a body for that being a good way to start a day. So thank you so much and have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. Ms. Gates.
I also had a fabulous time at IRA and getting to be there for ribbon cutting and some really cool U10 soccer fields and wiffle ball and all that. You know, you have to start with kickball, right? You can't start with things with bats because they don't know not to throw the bat. So you have, and we have to start with the rules first. You also have people like running all over the place and it gets crazy. So you have to start with kickballs, the least possible injury. I'm just putting it out there, but that was absolutely fantastic. And I want to thank the Ira Harbison staff for inviting us to share that with them. To Liam and his Jets, the fact that they help freeze teachers in a lot of ways. When your buddy can actually reach over and go, hey, you actually need to, have you updated your Chromebook? Like, well, you should probably turn it off and turn it back on again. Or plug it in. Yes, that's the thing. But also, let's be honest. How many of us in this room have gone to a child to ask them to help us? Yeah, can you fix my phone? So thank you to Liam and his Jets, Esmeralda, and the recycling program. The fact that they are stepping up in the way they are, and actually, since we are trying to track what's going on and what a difference this is making, it's not just a matter like what they're doing as the recycling crew is really important because it's helping us with some of the things that we're wanting to point out and say, hey, we do that in National School District and we do it big. Melanie and her morning buddies. Mrs. Hayes, Olivewood is big.
Yes.
I remember going there to sub and it was big and trying to find your way around is crazy. What a great idea morning buddies are to make sure that when you're new to school that you get where you're going with somebody who's like you, but just a little bigger. You know, that's a great thing. And so Melanie and your morning buddies, thank you very much. And David, you really classed up the place with the way that you led us through the flag salute today. Very, very professional, very good leadership, very good way to start off our board meeting. So to Principal Santana, thank you for bringing all your kids. Let's see, I propose that Mr. Castillo have his teams split up at each site and that they have a race to see who can complete their playgrounds to try and get them all done at the same time. I'm not sure anybody's going to listen to me on that. That's an idea. We have 7 days left. You all can do it, and you can be here every day for the next 7 days because then you get 2 weeks off. Teachers, that includes you. Last but not least, the shout out part. Arena, we know because he tattled that you gave hours extra of your time to help get this ready. And we thank you for it because in order for him to be able to then bring all of those numbers to us and put them into the languages, the words that we can understand, it has to have come together. And we respect what you do for us. We honor what you do for our children and for the district. And you need a spa day. Positive.
I'm planning.
Yeah, that'll be in what, 2043? Yeah, I don't know. But it reminded me of this, and this is not the right title for you and for our staff like you, but we have a lot of behind the scenes staff. You don't get up here, you don't do presentations, but you make this place run constantly. And so whether it is our attendance clerks who are doing their job, whether it is our administrative staff back here in corner offices that almost no one sees unless they have a really particular need, we honor the work that you do. So thank you. Oh, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Well said. Dr. Burke.
Yes, I haven't had much of a chance to speak tonight, so I'll take a couple minutes here. Yeah, I want to quickly thank Irina and echo what you said, and expand it just to mention that I've been here now 4 months, and I think our classified team is outstanding in this district, and they care, and they are warm, welcoming, so kind and nice everywhere I've been. And we, I can spotlight Olivewood this week. We're at Olivewood, and everywhere we went, the classified members were there smiling, warmly welcoming us, warmly welcoming children. And it's just very special. As now I'm a classified member, I've always been certificated, so it's special and an honor to be part of our great classified team here. And I do want to echo too. I don't think I'm usually not a nervous public speaker, but I did get butterflies tonight following the Olivewood kids because I was like, I got to go up there tonight and follow that. They were outrageously good public speakers, and that takes practice, that takes work, and more importantly, I pointed it out in a prior meeting, it takes a lot of confidence, and I see that confidence in National School District's children. They've been there before, they've done it before, they know they can do it. It's a confidence and a leadership, as you pointed out, and it's exciting. It's really awesome to see in kids today, because you don't always see that. So many kids are always looking down and nervous and not used to being able to publicly speak. So it's special. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Kevin.
I too want to welcome all of the new employees. I also want to congratulate our Olivewood students. They did a great job in the presentation, and I felt really a strong connection to Olivewood with the visit yesterday, the students presenting today, and then when I park my car and walk into the office, I see my grandma's house, who's 3 houses away. So also, we have a job fair today at the Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank Martha Vasquez and Paola Pineda, who are representatives. We also invited our maintenance department, and I want to thank Rick Miller for being there and helping to recruit some new employees for us. Tomorrow, we are doing an onboarding for 25 new substitutes, and we're calling them all in and doing an onboarding with them, so we're really excited about that. And I want to say happy birthday to Trustee Gates, Lizarraga, and Avalos, and thank you very much. Oh, and enjoy your fall break.
Thank you. Dr. Kraft.
Thank you. I just want to thank the Olivewood students and staff for a truly amazing presentation. And Dr. Burke and Irina, I know how much time that took and hours, and I hope you got to go shopping, Irina, this weekend, like you said. But thank you. It was digestible. I mean, it was very clear. So appreciate that. Happy September birthdays to all of you. Must be a good month. It was also my mom's birthday. I know. So great, powerful women were born in September.
And May.
And May. And a special happy birthday to Mackenzie Kevin, who turned 15.
Wow.
Oh, she'll be 15 tomorrow. Yeah. She's very good. And then I also wanted just to share that we got some preliminary results from our fall TFI, and 7 of our schools are looking like they're going to be platinum with PBIS. So very good. Yeah. And so we're really thrilled with what's happening out in the school sites and our amazing staff and our national school district family. So what?
I'm gonna interrupt and do a side shout out. So I had a PBIS from the San Diego County of Ed staff meeting today. Like they came to present to us. And do you know that most of the pictures were of National School District? Just putting it out there.
As it should be.
Dr. Kevin, we can go back to you if you've forgotten anything.
Sorry.
Wink.
So I also have a daughter that's a Virgo. She turns 15 tomorrow. And I just want to say happy birthday to Mackenzie.
Dr. Brady.
All right, well, I guess I'll start with the happy birthdays to Trustee Avalos, Trustee Lucerga, Trustee Gates, to your babies, to your mom, and to everybody else with a September birthday. Happy birthday. On Friday, I want to thank the governing board for approving our partnership with ALAS, the Administration for Latino, the Association for Latino Administrators and Superintendents. Thank you to Dr. Kevin for bringing that to our district. We will be meeting our brand new student roundtable this Friday. We're excited to meet the students. They will be getting up to speed on our global goals. At 12:15, a representative from ALAS will be coming virtually to present our students with a $5,000 donation, which you accepted tonight with your approval, to use, that was a different one, but we'll be signing that contract. And we'll, part of that would be for our students to work with sixth graders in Puerto Rico. They'll be working on a problem of practice that's underlying in STEM, particularly mathematics, and we're going to align it with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. From that problem of practice, they will come up with potential solutions to their problem, and they will be designing and producing their very own TED Talks. Any of our students that are noticed and selected have an opportunity to go to New York City to present on a TED Ed stage. So we're going to invest some of that money on some coaches to really help them. And you saw the articulate students tonight speaking. You can imagine what's in store with the student roundtable reps as you've seen them come through and present to the board. We'll get you the schedule in your memo. We hope you can, if you're going to come Friday, remember you can't all come at the same time. Let us know and we'll stagger you so that you can come and meet the kids. If you can't come this Friday, I'll put the schedule another Friday. They'll be joining us at 10 in the morning until 1:30 p.m. So we're excited for that. I just also want to say happy fall break. Thank you to Arena, Ryan, and the entire business team for the unaudited actuals. We know it's a lot of work. And thank you to our staff that's here to help this meeting run too.
Madam President, I did forget. Since everybody
I'll come
mentioned,
back to you after I'm done. Since
just let me say it real quick.
No, you can wait. I would just like to say regarding the ribbon cutting at Ira Harbison, that was very well planned. I want to thank the maintenance operations staff for the setup. You know, I got there about 7 o'clock that morning and they're all scrambling, you know, setting everything up, and it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. So I want to thank them for that. Also, I attended the Parents Summit at Las Palmas last Saturday. That was really well done. And it was a hot day. It was hot and miserable, but it was very well attended. I attended the presentation on human trafficking, and I learned quite a few things, and I'm glad that I did because I have teenage grandchildren that, you know, I was able to pass some of that information on to. But it was a great presentation, and I wish everybody could hear it. Ms. Avalos, you now have the floor.
Well, if any of my family is looking at this, they're going to say, Grandma, how come you didn't say it was my birthday? Because I have a birthday, Alfonso. And Mauricio was born on my birthday. And his son, which is my great-grandson, was also born on Mauricio's birthday, because we have 3 birthdays now on the 19th of September. Me, my grandson, and my great-grandson. Happy birthday. They're watching.
Thank you. With that, meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Please join us in Dr. Brady's office.